In this section, we'll be showing off some great examples of social media pages that we found to share with you guys today. We'll also show you some things to consider when designing a social media campaign, how to utilize systems thinking to create consistency with your designs, and also building templates to save time. Finally, we will be adapting our flyer design into a social media post. So let's dive into some effective examples that we found. First, we're going to start with IBM's LinkedIn page. A few things that you'll notice right away are a distinctive content-specific visuals that sets most posts apart from one another. Every piece of content feeds back into the brand or the company's posts, but they also all have a distinct look based on the type of their content. On IBM's page, the use of photography, illustration, text over image, and side-by-side visuals are all used to create distinct differences between posts, but also form visual connections between similar types of content. You'll see that posts of podcasts or videos look different from blog posts, and webinars or white papers and slide presentations differ from those of promotional posts. That was all done intentionally to differentiate specific types of content and for the user to focus on what is right for them at that time. Visual context and its relationship to the content you're presenting is important in no matter what you're designing though, whether it be social media posts, blog posts, website pages, flyers, even conferences and trade shows become more effective when you focus closely on the relationship between the content and the visual communication. Now, the next example, we'll look at an Instagram page for Chris Do and his agency, The Future. And you'll see consistent colors and branding across all of the posts. Personal or featured employee posts are differentiated using headshots versus more graphically focused visuals for branded content or informational posts. They show us an excellent use of a design system template by utilizing logos, branding, hashtag info, authored by footnotes, and website callouts above and underneath the main visually focused post content that all help bring more helpful information to the design template and more context to the user and the reader. Now, a few things to notice, to think about before we start on the designing and adapting this content for social media posts. We always try to ask ourselves, defining the most important content. What is the most important pieces of content in your promotion, your post, or your ad? What can be removed from the image area and added to the copy area instead? Keeping that image area focused on the most specific and important content. Before we start, we want to know our audience. So we want to do research on our target audience and or leverage current knowledge of our customer base to craft content and information that will be valuable and communicative to them specifically. If you are expanding to new markets, it's important to do research and define those audiences as well. And try not to target too many demographics or audiences with each post. Focus on and target one specific for each type of content that you're presenting. Another thing we want to do before we start is define our goals and determine our call to action. Who will be interacting with our posts or ads? What are our goals or results that we want to achieve with these posts or ads? And what is the call to action that we are planning to implement in order to reach those goals or results that we had set initially. And one thing we always like to do before we start is review the platform requirements. Do a lot of research beforehand on the specs and the specifications and the dimensions and just the requirements and the resolution needs for each platform specifically for those posts. And we want to consider when posting ads on Facebook, they have a limitation of text in the image area. So a lot of times you have to reposition that in the body area and focus on mostly visuals or iconography or photography, things like that in that image area, since they do have a requirement against that. So that's something to consider. And now before we dive into the adapted flyer content to a social media post, we're gonna kind of dive into a template that we use for just general posts and a similar content as this flyer that we previously presented to you guys. So here is a simplified version of our layout using a systems-based template for repurposing in the future. you notice that we defined a location to place our main messaging or a headline. We created a placeholder area for adding visuals, images, or photographs. We highlighted the bottom of the post where a call to action or supporting info can be displayed. And lastly, we made sure to include a space for promotional copy or sponsored or feature sponsors for an event or a talk. All of which we have done to simplify the post and the ad into a basic template so we can easily use this for similar types of content or posts in the future. Now from the template, we can move into adapting the content that Andrew presented in our print flyer earlier. Now we're going to adapt that into a social media post. You'll notice that we simplified the information from the flyer or the poster into a more streamlined version for social media. We focused on only the most important information for that post image. The rest can be included in the copy section of the post body. So we pulled over the most important aspects, and those are the headline, let's talk about Ignition, the subheadline, a lunch and learn presented by Inductive Automation, the supporting information, which is the event time and date, the free pizza and giveaway text and icons. We included the call to action, sign up today, or the event web address. And then also we included supporting visuals. We included that photo of our training room and then added in Ignition 8.1 gradient color overlay in order to tie it back into our Ignition branding as a whole.